Hey, how's it going? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is for Figure It Out and a few other things. Today, I'm joined again with Mike Morawski. We already did our Who Are You Helping a week or two ago, but how you doing today, Mike?
I'm great, Dan. How are you?
I'm fantastic, and I need to get the audience here on board a little bit here. So usually, just like how I interviewed Mike Morawski, I tend to interview commercial real estate investors, and the reason for that is because we have to find out if there's any overlap, and then find out if we can do business with each other. I need to know their core competencies and all that sort of stuff. So if you are a commercial real estate investor, please do reach out. We'll do our 15-minute interview where I make sure it's not awkward, and then that way we can legally share our private deals. But Figure It Out is a different interview series. I like to focus on interviews on what I call the dream job series. I have somebody on who is doing something special or has done something special. And usually we're talking about, so if you have no friends, family, or cash, how can you end up where you are? But this one's a little bit different. So why don't you introduce yourself first, and we'll take it from there, Mike.
Hey, Dan, thanks. And the first thing I want to say is, when I first went into the apartment business, and actually when I first went into the real estate business as a real estate sales agent, I didn't have any friends, family, or cash. So,
Mhm.
I fit right into your deal here on how I figured it out, right? So, been in real estate 30 years, started out as a real estate sales agent. I came from a construction background, and Dan, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. I, you know, I figured it out along the way. And, as an entrepreneur, we all know that you take care of the marketing, the sales, any product ordering, any hiring, firing, bookkeeping. I was doing all that and I was still banging nails in the field,
Mhm.
and I burned out. I woke up one morning, looked at my wife at the time, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm
Mhm.
done.
Mhm.
Sold the company, took a year off. And, Dan, I always say, I heard Jim Rohn say years ago, success leaves clues.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what I followed for years and years. And so when I took that year off, I found a real estate agent who was extremely successful and went to him and said, hey, I think I want to do this business. He said, Mike, I think you'd be great at it, and encouraged me, made me a cassette tape that I listened to over and over and over again, to master the mundane boredom of the daily basics, the fundamentals that you need to do as a real estate professional every single day. And I went out my first 9 months in the business, I sold 78 houses. And for somebody to say, hey, I can't do that, you know what? Just like your hat says, that's a scam. That's a
Mhm.
story people tell themselves, and they shouldn't tell themselves that stuff. But I went out, I sold 78 houses my first 9 months in the business. I was Remax Rookie of the Year. I'm not any more special than anybody else, Dan. I
Mhm.
mean, you and I get up the same way every morning.
Mhm.
I went on to build a team selling 125 houses a year, and I did that for 12 years consecutively. So
Mhm.
2005, I saw the market starting to shift and soften, and I
Mhm.
said, man, this is going to fall out. I got 7 people working for me. I don't want to lay anybody off. I got a great team right now. Let's figure out what we need to go do. And I went, and I always had wanted to go in the apartment business, Dan.
Mhm.
When I was in the construction business, I did some work for a couple of major syndicators here in the Chicago market. And, one of them was inland real estate, and
Mhm.
get this story, right? Four high school teachers they pool some money together. They buy a 4 unit. Today, they're the largest REIT in the world. They're in 80 countries in every asset class. I mean, you can achieve your dreams. You can go figure this out, right?
Mhm.
So I always wanted to be in the apartment business because I did so much work for those guys when I was in the construction business. And I understood this, Dan. I understood you raise private equity, you marry it with a good real estate deal, you stay in the middle, and as long as everything goes well, everybody makes money.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know if you want to unpack anything or you want me to keep going.
Well, one thing that jumped out in particular is you mentioning what it's like being an entrepreneur, and it's absolutely true. The fact is, your job is to find the solutions, and you can't wait for anybody else at all. If there's a problem that comes up, you have to deal with it. And I think that, like our education system, it leaves us woefully inadequate in that regard. Like I don't think they show that. And that's kind of one of the things about real estate is a scam.com. Real estate is a scam.com. That was first built from my digital security background, recognizing that, hey, there are lots of ways to come into this and then walk away feeling like the entire thing's a scam, even though it's not. The only way that you can really find out how to do it properly is by talking to people with the experience and then learning what the actual law is. And that's very difficult, especially because even in financial law, you cannot lie on behalf of a company. That's actually against the law, and most people don't know that. If you're representing a publicly traded company or whatever, you cannot lie on its behalf. You can get sued very, very badly, and transparency is a big thing. But that's the only thing I wanted to add. Where do you want to take it from there, Mike?
Yeah, so 2005, the market was starting to soften. I thought, hey, let me go in the apartment business. I think that if something happens in the residential sector, and at this point we're pre 2008, I don't know that we're going to have the worst economic crisis the world's ever seen, but I
Mhm.
feel something coming. And I don't know, call it intuition or something. You know, I'll never forget this, Dan. I was on the way to a boat to the lakes one afternoon with a friend of mine, and we're driving through a town just outside of Chicago here, heading to the chain of lakes. And I said to my friend, I said, "Hey, man, this corner right here would be great for a white hen."
Mhm.
And White Hen is just a little convenience store that used to be around years ago. He goes, "No, man, you're crazy. It'll never go here." Well, Dan, 3 weeks later, we're going to the lakes again. Drive by that corner, and what's on the corner but a sign that says "Coming soon, White Hen Pantry." I've always had these kind of intuitions, right?
Yeah.
Well, I have this intuition that the real estate market is softening and going to go away. And not really sure what's going to happen. I decide to go in the apartment business. So 2005, I go out, I find a small 11 unit deal. I figure now I need to raise some money. And I went and figured it out. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have family or friends with money.
Mhm.
And I put a small little classified ad in the newspaper. $45, best $45 I ever spent. All that ad said was real estate investors wanted. My phone rang off the hook. Told people what I was doing. Dan, over 6 months, I raised $700,000 from that little 45 bucks. You figure out the return on investment, right? I mean, it was just crazy. But I closed that 11 unit. And then over the next 30 months, I scaled a business, $100 million company. I bought 4,000 apartments. I raised $18 million to do it. I had $60 million in real estate, plus built a property management company managing 7,500 doors.
Mhm.
I, you know, built this company in 30 months, and 2008 rolled around in the middle of this, and it was like hitting a brick wall in a freight train.
Mhm.
And I kept wondering how we were going to mitigate our way through it. Dan, I'll never forget. Early 2008, I'm sitting at lunch with my CFO, and the news is on, and we're watching people carry boxes out of Lehman Brothers by the droves, right? And
Right.
I looked across the table. I said, "Man, we're screwed, aren't we?" And he goes, "Yeah, we're in big trouble." And
Mhm.
and Dan, I will tell you that I did not know what the magnitude of that comment was or that little conversation was till about 18 months later.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, it's a scary thing, that we can have these great businesses humming along, and then the debt market can change it around so much. But like those are amazing numbers, amazing achievements, and all that sort of stuff. And I want to get into the legal side of things, because one of the things you'll see in the book of Real Estate is a Scam.com and some of the videos that are in there, it's the ways where a perfectly rational person could think that, okay, well, this is is just the way you do it. And then you find out that it's illegal, and then you can have all sorts of problems like that. And that was one of the most exciting things about having you on today, Mike, is like I know with the SEC, I was warned that if you mess up, you have to put little disclaimers at the bottoms of your emails and your and also your web pages. And you're saying that your own situation was a little bit different. So do you want to move on to what ended up happening in your companies that took you out of the business for a piece?
So I scaled this company.
Mm-hmm.
2010 rolled around, and Dan, I thought, hey, this is just a recession, right?
Right.
Recession. I've been through about two or three recessions. They last 17 or 18 months. There's a 10 or 12% correction in the marketplace, but not this time. 7 or 8 years, 40% market correction. How do you mitigate the storm? So in 2010, my company had started to become pretty weary. Last quarter of 2009, Q1 of 2010, I had 38 different companies. Some were very profitable, some were not. It was market driven, it was sub-market driven. And so what I wanted to do was, I hate being the guy to give anybody bad news.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to have to go to my investors and say there was an issue. So I figured out a way to take money from profitable companies, put it in non-profitable companies. I thought, hey, 17, 18 months, we got a few months left of this thing. I'll hold the ship afloat, and come the end of this recession, I'll put all the money back and we'll be good. Then I'll tell my investors, hey, I was a hero. Well, here's the problem. I didn't disclose it to my investors. So for non-disclosure issues, I got charged on wire fraud and mail fraud charges, sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. Now, Dan, here's what I tell people. I never flew private. I didn't have a boat. I didn't buy a big house. I didn't drive a fancy car. I was the neighborhood baseball coach, home every night for dinner. I got ripped from that to live in a 12 by 12 room with 3 men I didn't know, nor did I like.
Yeah.
And wondering what the hell happened in my life. And it was just that fast. So what I want people to understand is, be careful. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And I grew that $100 million company in 30 months. Well, I was very unstable as a company. And when the market got bad, I was undercapitalized. So the first two mistakes I made, I was unstable and I was undercapitalized. I didn't raise enough money. And then I was over leveraged. So I owned $60 million worth of real estate at 85% loan to value. Dan, I don't know who was worse for it, me for taking the money or the banks for giving it to me, right? It was just crazy. It's crazy. And then, of course, I didn't pay attention to the details. Man, I had my blinders on. I said, let me do another deal. Let me get another deal. Let me raise some more money. Thinking that would fix it. But really what should have fixed it was stabilizing everything I had behind me. And I didn't have a team that was working to do that, right? And I thought it was happening. So because of those 4 reasons, and then a 5th reason being that I didn't listen to people telling me that they didn't like some of the things going on around me. They didn't trust some of the people that were my advisors around me, people that were helping me. And I said, hey, don't worry about this. I have this under control. And Dan, I didn't have a shit under control. So here I am today. I wound up, 2013, I got sentenced to 10 years in federal prison, and I went off to federal prison camp.
And so like it's just an incredible story to hear, and I just love you sharing that. And we've been talking about your motivations, why, and how you've gone above and beyond what the SEC is required of you. I thought that was pretty amazing because I guess I should put it in the context of 506B Me. And sorry for this shameless plug, but what 506B Me is all about is that because I'm the super visible online person, I know that if if they're going to find anybody, it's going to be the most visible person. That's me. So I have to be so careful with every single piece. And as I was learning how to sell securities and how to get exemptions and how not to break the rules, I'm going like, well, it doesn't matter if I'm just going to get sued or if I'm going to wind up in jail. I can't afford any of that. So I really have to learn what that is. So what I've done is I've made a system to go beyond what you're supposed to as far as the 506B requirements. 506B, you're not allowed to turn around to somebody and say, hey, I got this business. If you invest some money, I'll give you a piece of the profit from that business. You're not allowed to do that unless you have a license to sell securities. But if you do file for an exemption and you have all of the proper steps that you take, then it actually is okay. The biggest one is you have to have some reason to know the person and get to know them before you make that offer. So that's exactly what I did with 506B Me. And one of the issues I've run into is that people who they don't seem to want to play it by the rules. They want to just go ahead and raise the money and then make it a private thing and keep it secret. And so they're taking some pretty big risks. So you actually had to do jail time. So what kind of message do you have to people who've messed up, or what kind of stories do you think are really applicable to that?
Yeah. So, couple things. First of all, you just made a comment that you're seeing people do things they shouldn't be doing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's blatant all over. So many people that are raising capital today.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a guy here recently put something into a text that he could immediately be put in jail for just for saying what he said. And I thought, my goodness, how can people be so, you know, naive to think that, because I was naive. I thought
Mm-hmm.
I could move this money. My accountant and my attorney both said, hey, it's okay to do that. Just leave a paper trail.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's not where I broke the law. I broke the law because of disclosure. You know
Right.
what? You have to be very transparent. When we take money from somebody else, Dan, no matter how you record it, a 506B, a 506C, when you take money from somebody else, you are held at a much higher standard than anybody else in the world. Hey, Dan, if you sent me $5 right now
Mm-hmm.
by wire,
Mm-hmm.
right? By wire,
Mm-hmm.
that and then you went and you said, hey, Mike Morawski stole my $5, I, I I could go to jail,
Mm-hmm.
right? For wire fraud, because that's just how broad the law is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, I learned a lot. Listen, I went to jail in 2013. I thought my life was completely over. I walked around for the first 3 weeks wondering what the hell happened. How was I going to get through one day, much less 10 years? Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in prison 3 weeks, and my wife decides to divorce me,
Yeah.
and it wrecks me. And so I honestly, Dan, the joke in prison was take his shoelaces because we're afraid he's going to hurt himself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so about 6 weeks in, and I want people to pay attention to this because I think we all have these defining moments in our life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can miss them if you're not paying attention. But this was one of my defining moments. I'm 6 weeks in, and remember this, I'd gone from running marathons to being 35 pounds overweight, and I absolutely hated myself.
Yeah.
I walk in the gym one day, just window shopping. I'm looking for somebody. I'm not ready to lift a weight. I'm not ready to start working out. But this guy walks over to me and he says, hey, get over it. Don't let these people beat you. All they want to do is take from you everything you've ever known. They can
Yeah.
take your money, they can take your business, they can destroy your family. But what they can't take is who you are and what you're made of. And I don't know what happened at that moment, but a switch flipped,
Mm-hmm.
and I went, okay, whatever he's saying is making sense right now. He said, come to my class every day, start working out. You'll start to lose weight. You'll start to feel better. I said, okay, Kirk, I'll take you up on it. So I started going to the gym. I started working out. I started feeling better. I'm losing weight. Um, The next thing I know, I wound up going to college. I got a bachelor's degree in theology. I wrote 2 books while I was gone. I wrote an ethics study course. One of the books I wrote, Dan, is called Exit Plan, Your Complete Guide to Multifamily Investing and Why You Need an Exit Plan Before You Buy.
Mhm.
And, I'd love to give your listeners a copy at the end of the show if we want to do that.
Oh, definitely. Sure.
Um, but I taught real estate investing, property management, and ethics in prison for 6 years. Hey, how ironic, a federal inmate teaching ethics in prison, right? Um, I was on an outreach program. I went into the community. I told my story like 40 times to small business owners and college students. Met a professor from the University of Minnesota. He and I co-authored a paper together that we had published in the Business Journal of Ethics. And today, I'm home. I'm in the coaching and training business. I teach real estate multifamily investors how to build a business, how to scale a business, but do it systematically, to live a balanced lifestyle and not make the mistakes I made. And I've been reapproved by the SEC to go back and sponsor and be an issuer of securities. So I just bought my first 40-unit apartment deal. So I say that because, it's kind of come full circle. And so you asked me, before I started this, you said, so what did you learn, or what can you share with people? Here's what I want people to understand. Don't let your past define your future. I think that so many people are trapped in a prison in their own mind, Dan, whether it's addiction to alcohol or drugs or sex or gambling, or people have had past trauma in their life. It could be abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. I think people are trapped in these prisons in their mind, which could be worse than being behind the wall where I was, right?
Mhm.
And I think that you have to learn how to grab it every day and move forward. Look, I'm wearing my sweatshirt that says gratitude, because you know what? Damn it, Dan, I'm so grateful today for the experiences that I've had along the way. I didn't think I'd ever raise capital again, right? I'm
Yeah.
doing a meetup one day. There's 150 people on a meetup, and some guy, and I don't even know who it was, some guy shouts out, he goes, "Hey, are you raising capital yet?" I said, "No." He goes, "Well, let me know when you are, because I wouldn't want to invest with anybody but you, because you've made all the mistakes. And I know
Right.
you won't make them again, and you know what to look out for." And
Right.
I went like that. I went, holy cow, that just makes so much sense, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I want my message to be, don't let your past define you.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And like part of what you're telling me reminds me of a conversation I had. And like what my big thing is that, like I am always playing on the right side of the law, even though that's exactly what somebody who doesn't say on the right side of the law would say. But I always am thinking about, it's like, okay, so what can other people be doing that is not, according to law? It's like flies in the face of it, and what exactly can we do? So I remember one conversation I was having with an attorney. It had to do with tokenization of real estate. And so like I'm a tech guy as far as my background. It might be hard to tell by that, but one of the things that jumped out to me from a math perspective is that there isn't really that much of a difference between a token and a stock or a share. So it hit me as being something that is, it's a little bit of a of a fad is what's jumping out at me. And so I was discussing with an attorney. I'm saying like, okay, so if you are going to tokenize, it's going to have to be a limited partnership, stake, because the people who are running it can't be switching once a week or whatever as people trade ownership. But if it's just limited ownership and tokenization, then okay, well, one of the advantages is that people could be funding it with illegal money. And it's like, well, what does that look like? And so I was turning around to an attorney, and so I was saying like, all right, so if somebody wanted to do that, like what would be preventing them? And just like you said, it's like, well, they will freeze your assets. They'll take everything if they catch a whiff of that. And so I'm constantly looking for those sorts of things. And the way that I explained it to him, I actually already went a little bit in that context already of saying that like there's steps involved, right? So the first step is like, okay, well you're starting to thinking, maybe I'm going to break the law. And then after that, and that wasn't what happened to you, but then the next step is like, okay, well, oh well, but what if they start to get suspicious and start to look for me? And then the step after that is like, okay, they are actively looking into what's going on and whatever. And then the next thing is, like getting lawyers and attorneys are getting arrested, and then there's court, and then all those sorts of things. There's all those different steps there in that process. But you, because it's what would be considered a white collar crime, I'm suspicious that some people are saying it's like, oh well, it's just club fed. What do you have to say to people who are saying like, oh well, it's not going to be that big a deal. It's not like you're in a place with a bunch of murderers and armed robbers and violent criminals or anything like that. What do you have to say to people who say that?
Yeah, there's a couple things I have to say. First of all, any day longer than one day in prison is destructive to yourself and your family.
Mhm.
I was out of commission for 8 years. I came home. I didn't have two nickels to rub together.
Mhm.
And, yeah, it's really easy for somebody to say, hey, it's club fed. And you're going to be, like my attorney said, it's club fed, you're going to be with doctors and lawyers, but they didn't tell me how many street corner pharmacists I was going to be with. They
Mhm.
didn't tell me how many, gang leaders, high ranking gang leaders I was going to be with. Some of those guys are my good friends today. It's kind of
Mhm.
funny. You come home from prison and they say, hey, don't associate with any felons. And I looked at my probation officer. I said, are you kidding me? I said, I've been gone 8 years. My only friends are felons.
Yeah.
So, you get ripped from society. I said it earlier. I said, look, I had a pretty good life. I built this $100 million company. I had a family life. I had success. Um, and I had success in a worldly fashion, Dan.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So monetarily, I had stuff, I had apartments, I had a business. You know what? I got ripped from that to live in a 12 by 12 room with three men I didn't know or didn't like. Try
Mhm.
it. If you think it's just club fed, go try it. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
And and every time I thought I had it bad, I met somebody else who had it worse, right? One of my best friends today was gone for 17 years. And to come back to society, and I run a prison ministry today through church as
Mhm.
a result of this, because there's such an issue when a guy comes home from prison to try and get acclimated back into society. Let me give you an example.
Mhm.
um, in prison, there's two choices at the commissary for shampoo. There's the white guy's shampoo and the black guy's shampoo. Pretty easy choice, right? Uh, you come home and you go to Walmart and you look at the shampoo shelf in Walmart, there's 45 choices. How do you make a decision, right? And when you come home from being institutionalized for that period of time, and there's not a lot of preparation in the system to get a guy ready to come home. There's not a lot.
Mhm.
Um, and whatever you get, you have to really kind of get yourself and dig in yourself to get it. But we walk with guys in the prison ministry that help guys along the way. When you get ripped from society, when you get ripped from your family, when you get taken from there and put somewhere else, um, you tend to grow a lot. I mean, I grew a lot as I had a
Mhm.
lot of time to think about what I did wrong. Um, and I had a lot of time to think about what happened around me. Today, my company reflects those changes. Today,
Mhm.
my capital raising efforts reflect those changes.
Mhm.
Right? I'm not. You know, I was on a podcast. I actually did a presentation just over the last few days for a college class.
Mhm.
Um, and one of the kids asked, what was one of the biggest things you learned? And I said, one of the biggest things I learned was that my pride and my greed had gotten in the way. right?
Mhm.
I thought, man, I own 4,000 apartments today. I'll be at 10 before you know it.
Mhm.
Well, in the big scheme of things, how important is it really? You know?
Right. Right.
And if you're not doing this stuff for the right reasons, it's pretty easy to get plugged from society. So I go back to the guy I was just talking about who had who put into text something that he could go to prison for.
Mhm.
And I thought, this guy's a wild card,
Yeah.
right? This guy is not somebody that I really should have in my circle of influence, so to say, because that's the kind of stuff that you need to watch out for. So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
hope that kind of answers what you asked. I
It
know I
did.
kind of get off on a tangent on this a little bit, but hey, listen, your day-to-day life in prison is not what your day-to-day life in society is. You get up every day, you see the same 500 men, you do the same routine every day, you know, um, you go to the gym at the same time, you go to eat at the same time, you go to email at the same time, you
Mhm.
know, it's
Yeah, that's pretty grim. But I know that you also have to get going. I know that this has been really really amazing. Having you here. You were mentioning that book that you wanted to share with the
sure.
audience, and you can also let people know how to reach out for you as well. So how do people
Yeah.
get further in their real estate business with you?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Dan, for that. And like I said, I'm really grateful. I'm grateful you had me on the show today. I'm grateful for what I learned while I was gone and the place I am in life. And my goal today is to give back and to help other people. So I am, I'm in the coaching and training business, but don't shy away just because of that. If you want to network, I love to network. Reach out to me. First, you can find me anywhere on social media, wherever you go get your fix, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you'll find me there. And if you want to grab a copy of my book, go to mycoreintentions.com/free. Grab a free copy. If you're like me and you like to dog ear pages, highlight and write in the margin, and you're an active reader, you can buy a copy there also. If you're looking for a free coaching session just to maybe try and figure things out, go to my website, schedule one, and I look forward to meeting you and helping you do whatever I can help you do.
Awesome. That's really, really beautiful. I think it's so valuable for people because it does seem like a bad dream when you're on the outside, and when you're living it, it's like the other thing. Like it just jumps out to me. It's like the actual amount of time. Like 10 years for making loans between companies, like that. That seems like a lot. I've done a lot of things that like living, like working nights in Taiwan while running the tech for that real estate firm in Cleveland. Like it's the sort of thing where you don't have those other two people that you don't know and don't like in your room, but it's almost like solitary in a lot of ways. So it's something
Yeah.
that it hits right here as far as going like like is that really what's deserved? And you probably shouldn't answer that, and you got to go anyway. I want to thank you for joining me today. This has been absolutely fantastic. I hope you learned a few things. You can check out Figure It Out episodes on YouTube, just like Who Are You Helping, which is for professionals who they're either influencers or they have commercial investors in their circle. Or you can catch up with me, check out my book, all that kind of stuff. Make sure that Mike said his site was mycoreintentions.com/free, so you can get a copy of his book. And once again, Mike, thank you so much for joining. If you can hit the subscribe button, that'd be a big favor. Any parting words there, Mike?
Just thank you. I appreciate you, Dan, and you do a hell of a job, especially with your 506B Me. And I think people need to reach out to you as well and just connect, right? You've got a lot to say, a lot of wisdom, and you've been doing this a long time. And I appreciate your professionalism. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you. See ya. Hey, I'm Dan Friedenberg, and my hat says real estate is a scam because I wrote this book. I wrote this book too. This is a different thing, but I wrote this book called Real Estate is a Scam. And the whole point, well, why don't I just read it here? It says more on paper millionaires became that way by focusing their ambitions on real estate than any other strategies. I don't like that sentence so much. And people want and people want to work with whoever can pay the most, so you're competing with the most ambitious and well-funded people in society. So, you might be finished before you started and decide real estate is a scam. Or worse, you may have paid 5 figures to a real estate coach for information you could have been paid to learn. Okay, that's right. The real estate players are legally obligated to explain what they're doing with the building you partially own, if you own part of a building, and you will get your return of capital, your quarterly distributions, and possibly some depreciation to help lower your taxes. That's marketing speak partly, because the thing is, like, is it possible to not get all of your capital returned? Yes, it is. It's absolutely possible. Okay. Like, the biggest way that you can really lose money on real estate is if it actually costs you to own something, and that cost is beyond what you'd actually be able to get back. I've also heard it on the coast of Florida, where they're in flooding zones. You could actually have to pay just because you own the property. But anyway, I mentioned here that what they're doing is, if you actually partially own a building, then you're going to get your return of capital, you're going to get your distributions, and you might even get some depreciation to lower your taxes. And that's a promise that REITs can't deliver, because REITs actually have their own conflict of interest that nobody will talk about. But there's no money in coaching people if you can't get them to invest in your own deals, and there won't be any of your own deals if you're coaching all the time. So coaches tell you how to become real estate coaches or perform illegal activities that even real estate attorneys don't know, because it's securities law. I don't like this blurb. I'm being too terse. I was in a hurry, but what can you do? But anyway, I know that if I was told how to do real estate and built it all just to lose it all, I'd think real estate is a scam. But is it? You tell me. Anyway, so yeah, that's what the thing here says, and you can get it on paperback and Kindle. As far as the other book, the Attention to Detail Handbook, Figure It Out, yeah, it's about attention to detail. It's also known as meticulousness, but really it's just people who just find themselves not being able to pay much any attention, or they keep on missing important things. They want to get closer to perfection, which computers demand. Okay, you have no choice when it comes to programming. If it's not perfect, it won't work. So that's why I ended up writing that book, because otherwise it's a kind of arrogant topic or title to write about anyway. Anyway, thanks for checking this out. That's the book. That's one way that I'll end up making money for all of this stuff, because YouTube doesn't pay like much anything. Anyway, thanks guys. See ya. Bye.